Rock on the track, boy.
All right, here we go. Hey, hello, welcome back, everyone. It's been a little bit of a hiatus, but we've had a couple of our members be busy with finals throughout the week, so they're busy studying, busy in becoming better students, better humans. I mean, good for them. They're putting in that hard work. So we apologize for the hiatus, but yeah, we're back. We're good to go. So today we got another great episode for you guys. Today we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs, the NFL draft, touch on Major League Baseball, NHL, the NHL playoffs, and if we got some time, maybe we'll give you a little bit of a fantasy breakdown. So, but yeah, to kick things off, let's go with the NBA playoffs. As you guys know, a lot of the first round series were decided. A lot of great first round series. I mean, my Celtics, like I think I said it on this episode too, on this show too. Celtics in 4 against Brooklyn, and I mean, hey, they ended up winning in 4, but yeah, I mean, so I guess let's start off the NBA playoffs here. We kicked it off with the East last time, so let's kick it off with the Western Conference this time. So we got our first playoff series in the West. We got the Mavericks and the Suns.
For me. I know I know we're probably. I know we're gonna agree. No,
I ain't
listen.
talking about it. I ain't talking about the Suns on this podcast. I ain't talking about the Suns, how good they're playing, how bad they're playing. I ain't talking anything.
I'm with you with the Suns, so I'm gonna back you. I'm gonna back you all the way. That's another broom series. That's a broom series. Mavericks have no chance.
Nope, I ain't saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
Mavericks have no. They don't have anybody that can do anything with what the Suns bring. They don't have a secondary player to help. Luka's all they got, so I'm saying Suns in 4. Booker's back. No, they have no defense for Aiden. I mean, I just don't see how they win not even a game. So I got Suns in 4.
Yes, I agree with you. The Suns are playing well. Next subject.
All right.
Oh, and I also want to say that Luka travels his ass off. There you go.
Well, all I'm going to say is that, I mean, it's funny because, Aaron, you say that again. You said that about the Mavericks in the first round, and here they are. They won their first round series in 5, So I think the Mavericks are a lot scrappier team than people give them credit for. And I've said this before, a player like Luka Doncic covers so many holes on your team. Like, Luka's the type of player that you don't need a big 3. You just need another all-star with him, another all-NBA player with him, and that team can be successful. I mean, Jalen Brunson's been playing good. Dinwiddie's been playing good. I think the Mavs have their own issues where they're not re-signing Brunson, and they've made it clear that they don't want to re-sign Jalen Brunson. I mean, I agree with you guys here. I think the Suns are a much better team than the Mavericks, and I think in a 7-game series, the Suns are just gonna win. Are going to win the series. I think overall the Suns are a better team. I think the Mavericks definitely have the talent to take a game or two, but I don't think they have the talent to win the series.
All right, I'll touch on this part of it because I'm not going to touch on who I think is going to win or how good or bad either team is playing, just due to personal and just personal feelings about the situation. But I will say this: I do think that the Mavericks are obviously a good team. They were one of the best teams after All-Star break. As far as, they really pulled it together, and that involved the Porzingis for Dinwiddie trade and, whatever you want to give it credit to. I think they played a Utah team in the first round that is obviously already dealing with a lot. I mean, the day after they lost, Rudy Gobert already announced that he needs to be traded or Rudy Gobert needs to be traded. I think that team had some stuff going downhill. And I also think that team made Jalen Brunson look a lot better than he is.
Yeah.
Because he messed Rudy Gobert up bad that entire series. And then, in my opinion, once he faced a real hardcore defense in the Suns, he dropped 13 and kind of looked stale from the court. So I don't know. I'm not putting my bets on who's winning, but that's my take on it. I think Luka's.
I just think they're outmatched. They're outmatched. The Suns are experienced. They're way more experienced, and they're a deeper team. They play better team ball. I just think that the Mavericks just is Luka. That's it. That's it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, I agree with you there. They're pretty much just Luka.
Yeah.
But Luka's pretty darn good too at the same, in the same context. So
I mean, yeah, but that's my thing too. Is Luka can be as good as he wants. Luka dropped 45 in that game last night, but did they win though?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Luka can't. That's another conversation. You can't have Luka drop 45, 50 a night and expect to win every single game.
I'll tell you like this. Luka, right? I'll say Luka is. Remember Allen Iverson? Remember the team Allen Iverson had when they played the Lakers in the finals?
Yes.
How it was pretty much Iverson.
It was Iverson, Eric Snow, and old Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah, I think it's the same boat as the Mavericks. I mean, if you look at their roster, who really do they have that you're feared? You know what I mean? Dinwiddie, Max Keebler, you know what I mean? None of those guys you really have to really.
And Jason
can let Luka score 50, 60 points and still win the game.
But here's my thing though, right? And this isn't me hating on the Suns. This isn't me hating on the Mavericks. But if you're having a night where Devin Booker's shooting 5 for 20 from the field and 1 for 5 from the 3-point line, that's the night you have to jump on that, because guess what? Next game he's not gonna do that.
Yeah.
He's gonna go out. He's gonna go out and he's gonna go 17 for 20 from the field, and you're not gonna breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right with that, E. Like, that's the Mavericks, but the Mavericks don't have anyone on the team that can, defensively that can jump all over that. And I mean, I think we all know that it's the better defensive teams tend to go further in the playoffs in the NBA, So
and the Suns definitely have way better defense. So,
but yeah, I mean, I think we all agree the Suns will win the series in the long run.
Broomstick series.
I think they're the better team than the Mavericks. But now, now let's go to the other semifinal series in the West, where we got. What do we have? We got the
Golden
Grizzlies
State
and
Warriors.
Golden State and Memphis. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start on that one.
I'll start. I'm staying with my pick with the Warriors, like I've been all along. Curry's back. He looks good. My prediction would probably be, I'm gonna say 6, because I don't want to, jive the truth, and I don't want to, jinx anything, but I want to be realistic. I think the Warriors in 6. I just don't. I think they have the more experience. And if you watch Game 1, Memphis they played a good game. They were in the game the whole time. But if you just watched it, the Warriors' experience, I felt like late in that game kind of won it for them.
Yeah, I definitely think that
The youthfulness of Memphis has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Here's my other thing with the
Youthfulness of Memphis. I also think that that's going to be a major part if this series goes any further than 5 games for the Warriors.
I think obviously I think they did the one thing to Draymond Green that makes Draymond Green one of the best players in the league, and they ejected him out of a game. I think next game Draymond Green goes absolutely crazy. I don't know. My biggest take on this series is that whoever wins is going to have to figure it out real fast and rest up, because I think you have a Sun series that's going to end very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think you have a Grizzlies versus Warriors series that's going to end in like 6 or 7. And they're going to have to turn around in that series and immediately go play the Phoenix Suns. So I think that's my biggest takeaway is I don't know who's going to win this. and I don't think anybody can really predict right now. That series, that game came down to the wire, and I don't know. I really cannot even begin to touch on who I think is going to win. I think both teams. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I got Memphis in 7. I think it's going to be a hard-fought series. I think it's going to go back and forth, but I think to E's point, I think in a longer series, the youth is gonna give Memphis an advantage over Golden State. I get that they have the experience, but I've said it time and time again, like, you know, try being 33, 34, trying to keep up with a 22-year-old Ja Morant. Like, I mean, I get it, like, but the age is gonna catch up with Golden State at some point.
And let me just say this. Let me say this to that point. We're not talking about the 2017 Golden State Warriors. We're not. We're just. That's not the
Curry's
team on the court right
Curry's
now.
not 29 anymore.
But-
Curry's 33. Draymond's 34. Clay's 34. You know.
Yeah. With all that being said, those guys shoot lights out.
They do
Clay-
shoot lights out.
But Clay hasn't been doing consistently. Clay hasn't
Clay's
done it
been-
consistently since he's been back. He's had great games. Don't get me wrong. He's had some great games since he's been back. But
Yeah.
How many games in a row this season since he's been back has he truly been out there shooting the ball as well as 2018 Clay?
I'll tell you like this. He hasn't been as consistent, but he's shown flashes of that. And I think that's all they need. To me, I think that's all they need. They don't need the Clay of old. I think all they need is the Clay that they have right now, the Clay that's knocking down shots, the Clay that the Grizzlies have to go out and have to respect that he's going to knock down the shot. I think that's all they really need to get past the Grizzlies, because Grizzlies have Ja and
Bane.
Bane. I can't.
Bane and Jaren Jackson, and Brandon Clark and Dylan Brooks.
But guys, when it's all on the line, Ja's getting the ball.
Yeah.
But I think the Warriors are ready for that. I think in order for the Grizzlies to win, it's going to be somebody. If the Grizzlies win, somebody else is going to step up. If they try to rely on just Ja winning it for them like he did with Timberwolves or whatever, I don't think that's happening, because I think the Warriors is taking that away. And if you've seen that last play on that drive, everybody knew who was going to take that shot, and that's why it got blocked.
Yeah.
I think, first off, I don't think the Memphis Grizzlies won that series. I think the Timberwolves severely lost that series.
I agree.
I don't get how you're up by like 15 at halftime every single game and still manage to blow it. By the time Game 6 happened, I placed a bet that the Timberwolves would be up at halftime and the Golden State Warriors or the Grizzlies would win the game, because I knew that's what was going to happen. And I called it.
That's crazy.
It was like writing a book.
But that's the youth, the inexperience too. But I think that's just what's gonna happen with Memphis. That youth and inexperience, when the games get tight late in the game, I don't feel like they're gonna need somebody else other than Ja to step in and knock down a big shot or make a big play.
I get that. I understand that. See, I'm on the opposite, because I'm like, when it's crunch time, who's gonna stop Ja? You're gonna have a bunch of mid-30-year-olds trying to keep up with Ja's athleticism.
See, Gary Payton Jr. I mean, he's not no
stop. No.
Gary Payton Jr. is a bum. Stop.
We're not talking about Gary Payton Jr. like he's gonna make a difference at any point in time after the second round.
Yeah, Gary Payton
played
Jr.
a good. I'm saying he played good. That was a good defense on that last shot, though.
He had a good moment. Gary Payton Jr. had a good moment. I will give him that. But overall, I just don't think. I think the age is, yes. I agree with you guys that athleticism goes before shooting. But when your shooters are 34, and the athletic guy is a 22-year-old, 23-year-old John Morant, I think it's kind of hard to keep up with that. I think it's going to show. I think if this series goes late, I think for Golden State to win this series, they need to end this series within 5 games. If it goes more than 5 games, I think Memphis's youth is going to win out because you got to look. Golden State's played a lot of basketball, and even being 30 and even being as good as Curry and Clay and Draymond are, that's going to catch up to them at some point in the year. It's going to catch up. It caught up with KD. It's going to catch up with Curry.
I think the Warriors are fragile too in the fact that I think that, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, I think Jordan Poole has been a key contributor to this team's
energy,
no doubt,
as of the end of the season. I think the Warriors, as in this year, are fragile enough to where if Jordan Poole doesn't show up, it's going to throw off the entire dynamic of the game.
I think so. I mean, all year, Jordan Poole, he's the next Splash Brother. He's the next part of the Splash Brothers. He's the next part of the Splash Brothers. Curry did not have a good year from shooting this year. Russell Westbrook had a better field goal percentage than Curry did.
He missed a lot of free throws. What game was that? I can't remember what game that was last series, but he did miss it. He was missing a lot of free throws. Uncharacteristic 4, I believe it was.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Curry's bad. Obviously, he's the greatest shooter of all time. But what I'm saying is this also brings back my point. We're not talking about the prime Golden State Warriors, right? We're talking about a Golden State Warriors. While scary, they are completely 100% beatable.
No, I'm not saying that they're not unbeatable. Don't get me wrong. I just think, like I said, if this series is tight, I just think the Warriors have that edge.
And if they win this series, they lose to the Suns or they lose to the Celtics. If they don't lose to the Suns,
I say this: if they win this series, I like the Suns. That's the thing. But I'm gonna stick with my guns. I say Golden State in 7 if they get past this series. Golden State in 7 against the Suns.
Okay, then that still brings up my point. If they win this series, they win the Suns series, they lose to the Celtics in the finals.
I don't see the Celtics making it. So let's transition over there to the East then on that. And we're gonna start with Boston and Milwaukee. I like Boston. I mean, I like how Boston's been playing.
You like how Boston's been playing?
On them. I wasn't as high on them as Zach was, but after the Brooklyn series, I kind of went up there with them. But I don't think I'm ready to put them past the Milwaukee.
They're up by 20 on Milwaukee as we speak, by the way. So
they're up by 20.
Yeah.
But like I said, I still think Milwaukee came in. They did what they were supposed to do. They stole one. They got home court now. I think they could still beat Boston without Middleton.
Yeah,
It'll go 7 though. It'll go 7.
Don't know if I necessarily agree. I don't think you're giving Boston enough credit for the team that they turned out to be. Oh. Boston had the scariest, most defining second half of the NBA season out of the entire NBA. Jason Tatum single-handedly from All-Star break put himself into a top 5 contender for MVP. Jaylen Brown is popping off. 2 months ago, Marcus Smart had 22-1 odds for Defensive Player of the Year. Absolutely started popping off. 1 Defensive Player of the Year. All right.
They have Derek White, who is an underrated backup point guard for them. He facilitates offenses very well, and their defenses might be the scariest thing in the NBA because you beat Marcus Smart, great. Now you have to beat Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, great. You beat them too, great. Robert Williams is standing in the paint. it's scary. I texted Zach this the other day. I said if the Suns make the finals, the one team I'm most scared of in the entire NBA to play right now is the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it, but I don't think you can't count out a championship team though. I mean, you can't count them out. Boston's been playing. Listen, I'll be the first to admit they after watching them that Brooklyn series, they look like serious title contenders, and they really do. So I'm not saying
Glad
that.
it took them beating Brooklyn for you to
No,
see that.
and just watching them,
Not the
man.
fact that they've been the best team in basketball
Watch,
since the month of December, and Jason Tatum's been the best player in the NBA
yeah,
since
and that's what I
January.
said. Watching them, like when you actually get a chance to watch it and you see it, and that's how I was like, okay, yeah, Boston is real. Like they're the real deal. Like they really are. But I will say this: the winner of that series is gonna go to the finals, though.
Yeah, because the other East series is not even watchable.
Yeah,
And that I'm gonna say that Joel Embiid's out. Give the next round to the Heat. Move on.
yeah.
Yep.
James Harden is so drastically overrated at this point. I can't handle it anymore. He's
All
an
right,
at best. He's an
hang on,
average playmaker.
hang on. To loop back because y'all just kind of skipped over me there.
Oh, sorry.
Before we rush into that series, let me give my take on Boston. Yeah, like I said before, Boston has been the best team in the East since December. Not just the best team in the East, but the best team in the NBA since December. Jason Tatum's been the best player in the NBA since January. I mean, even with Milwaukee, like I said this with the Brooklyn series, it's going to take more than Harden to beat Boston. It's going to take more than Giannis to beat Boston. I think Boston's role players are a lot better than Milwaukee's role players. Like, I just think, I think Milwaukee won that first game, but I think that's also because Boston had a quick series and had a little layoff and, kind of had to shake off the rust because they were like, okay, they got a little rest. But
See, I looked at it
Boston's
as more. I looked at it as more as like a cockiness thing. I think
No, I didn't view it as a cockiness thing. I viewed it more as like okay, we were a little rusty because we had such a quick series, made such quick work of that. I don't think they're cocky. They look like a team that's hungry to
I
me.
think they got a little bit complacent because watching that game, they were forcing a lot. 18 turnovers. They were forcing a lot. And to have
it could. I think there's a
18
little bit of both.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Have 18 turnovers.
Milwaukee was definitely able to play their game, but that's going to be the only game in the series that Boston's going to allow Milwaukee to beat
And,
Milwaukee.
I mean, Giannis didn't have a great game himself either, though.
No.
But here's
he
my
had the
thing though.
triple-double, but
my thing with Milwaukee
is yes, we always look at these NBA playoffs and we go one player's not going to win a series.
that's true.
And that is the simple fact out of everything. But here's the problem.
That's true.
And hear me out with this. Milwaukee's one player is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And don't get me wrong, I didn't watch a lot of Giannis until last year watching the Suns play them in the finals. He dropped a 50-point triple-double to end that series. I'm saying though, if they even give Giannis the slither of confidence that he needs to play, one player could possibly win the series because it's Giannis.
And to that point, I will say yes, Giannis is a lot better than Kevin Durant at this point in time. Giannis is a much better player overall, just total. And Giannis can do more for the team than Kevin Durant can, obviously. But with that said, I still think Boston is still the better team than Milwaukee. And like I've said it before, I thought Milwaukee was kind of a fluky champion last year. Like there was just really no one better. Like, I mean, of the West teams, you're probably going to hate me for this, but of the Western Conference teams, yes, the Suns made the finals, but the Suns weren't the best team in the West last year. Like the best team in each conference last season didn't make the NBA finals. And I think that's why Milwaukee was a champion. I think had the best teams made the finals, Milwaukee was knocked out in round 2, had they had a harder playoff series last year. So that's why I'm not fully like, okay, yes, they're champions. They're the biggest. and at least in recent memory of all the championship teams I've seen over the last 10 years, they're the most flukiest of the group, like of that to me, So that's
But
why
if
I
the
said
Suns win that finals last year, are they a fluke?
no. I wouldn't say the Suns because I think the Suns are a much better team than Milwaukee. Like
That just goes you to show you the greatness of Giannis also that.
absolutely, and that's what was another thing I was going to say that
Yeah.
plays into the greatness of Giannis for
Yeah.
him to be able to carry them and all that,
Yeah.
So and then so then we got obviously the next series in the playoffs, which is the Heat and the Sixers. And, I mean, it's not much of a series at this point, but it's the NBA playoffs. Things can change. I know it's the Heat, and I know the Heat are looking good. I'm still not a believer in the Heat, though. I still don't know if the Heat have enough to take out Philly.
I'll give Philly a game. I'll give them 2. But they're gonna go down 2-0. I just don't see because Harden is done. Harden is on the decline, and he's on the decline fast. He's not able to beat guys one-on-one anymore. That's why he's doing a lot more step back jumpers. He's not, he's not in rhythm or anything like that. So it's like I don't see how they get past Miami. Now, me watching and just the coaching me, I will put the ball in Tyrese Maxey's hands.
Yeah.
For pick and roll. He's more explosive. He can get past that first line of defense. Harden's not doing it.
Yeah, how Tyrese Maxey isn't a contender for most improved player is beyond me.
He's literally, and this is by stat, has doubled every single stat line from last season to this season.
Well, I mean, I can understand that because it's only his second year and he's still developing. So obviously he's going to get better, It's obvious he's going to improve,
I think the Doc needs to change. The Doc needs to get that ball out of Harden's hand, and because he's not doing anything.
I think in a way that Harden, quote unquote, missing the extension deadline is going to end up being a blessing for Philadelphia in the long run. Because I don't think Harden wants to re-sign with Philly after this year, and I don't think Philly should try to re-sign Harden after this year. I don't.
I really think you should cut your losses. You got rid of Ben Simmons, who God knows when he's going to play. You got rid of Ben Simmons. You got rid of that cancer. Now just let Harden walk. Embiid's doing his thing. Maxey's developing. Thibault could be a defensive first-team all-defensive player. The second he gets a starting position on the court, maybe you ride with that team. Maybe you go out and grab a solid small forward that's not Tobias Harris.
And maybe try to ride with that. I don't know.
But yeah, I think it's Heat moving on to the Eastern Finals in 5.
Yeah, I think and Heroes, listen, I like Tyler Hero. Miami's too deep. They got too much for Philly. Even with Philly, because now everybody was talking about the star power of Philly. Because if James Harden would have been playing like James Harden, then it would be different. But he lost a step to me. He looks slow. He looks fat. Like he just don't even look like the same player anymore. So I say Miami in 5.
What do you think, Zach?
There we go. I mean, I get what you guys are saying with Harden and all that. He definitely hasn't looked like the same James Harden that he has in the past. It depends for me. It really depends because Doc Rivers, I know, is a good enough coach, and I know he's a good enough coach and smart enough to realize that he needs to make the adjustment and have Maxey run the pick and roll. Now, if Rivers can do that, can make that adjustment in time, in the right amount of time, then yes, the Sixers can win this series in 7 games. The Sixers can win that series in 7 games if he makes that adjustment now.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be key. I think it's going to be key of when Doc Rivers decides, okay, Harden's not doing it this series, not getting it done. Let Maxey run the pick and roll,
Yeah.
But then at the same time, when you do that, are the defenses is the defense that's now shutting down Harden? Are they going to focus to Maxey at that point? And then is that going to make Harden open and then make Harden look better?
Yeah.
I guess we got to ask: is it actually a product of James Harden slowing down, or is it because it's the playoffs? The Heat are a good defensive team. The Eastern Conference are usually a lot better
I
defensive
think
teams
it's a
than the
little bit
Western
of both.
Conference.
I think
And
it's
this
a
is the
little bit of
best
both.
defense. These are the best defensive teams that Harden has seen in the playoffs in his career.
It's a little bit of both because, like I said, if you're actually watching Harden, he looks slow. Like he don't even look like he can beat. He can turn that corner like he used to on the drive. Like he just looks slow to me.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Harden is, and they got touched on at the beginning of the season, man. All you heard about Harden, Harden looked so out of shape
Yeah.
to start the season. And
Yes.
everybody was talking about Zion, but Harden just, still.
He looks fat. Yeah.
He just doesn't. He's playing more minutes for Philly than he was for Brooklyn and averaging less steals, points, rebounds, and assists. Like I don't know. Maybe it's just the situation. Maybe he's not happy in Philly. Maybe he complains his way out, but I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's his health. I think because he was injured during the time of the trade, and I don't think Harden is fully recovered from that injury. I think it's a lot. I think Harden next year is going to be James Harden again, but I think for the remainder of this year, yeah, it's his health. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like that whatever injury he was dealing with earlier in the year is still like lingering and still nagging him. But even with that said, yeah, I think you got to give it to the Heat. The Heat are just a more complete team than Philly too. Better defensively, just more complete, better shooters. Just all around better. It's going to take a lot more than Embiid for the Sixers to win.
Oh yeah.
All right. Now, here's my question. I know we're probably not hitting on this too hard. Heat win this series. Whoever comes out of Boston, Milwaukee, I don't know. Well, I think whoever wins Boston, Milwaukee makes the finals. I don't know. I think it could go 6 to 7 games with the Heat.
I will say this: if the Heat win that series, the Heat have beaten both Boston and Milwaukee in the playoffs in the last few previous seasons. So I think if any team's not scared of Milwaukee and Boston, I think it's the Heat.
Oh yeah. I don't listen. Miami. Don't get me wrong. I feel like the winner of like we say I think we're all in agreement that winner of Milwaukee Boston probably beats Miami, but I don't know if it's gonna be an easy game. I think it goes 7.
I
Miami,
think Boston beats Miami. I don't think Milwaukee beats Miami. I think Miami beats Milwaukee, but I think Boston will beat Miami.
I'll say this.
Here's my thing.
Before you go, E.
Okay, my bad.
They only beat them without Middleton. With Middleton, I don't think the Heat beat.
Depends which Middleton shows up too.
Go ahead. E.
As a Suns fan, please, dear God, hand me Miami. I will wipe my hands clean and walk out.
I agree.
If
I'll
any of these,
and I'll laugh when the Suns lose.
Y'all,
6.
so E, y'all beat. Do you think y'all beat Milwaukee this time around?
Depending on who we play, this is my honest, non-biased predictions. Okay, no matter who we play in the East.
Miami in 5.
Milwaukee in 6. Boston or us in 7. Philadelphia, if they even come close to the finals,
They might give us the trophy after the first game.
I think the only team on that list that the Suns have a realistic shot of beating in the Eastern Conference is Philadelphia. I don't think Phoenix can beat Milwaukee. I don't think they can beat Miami, and I certainly don't think they can beat Boston.
Okay, we're talking about the clutchest team in all of basketball this year.
I think they
best road record in the NBA.
I think they can beat any of them. For me, It depends on Booker. It depends on Booker.
Depends on the whole team.
No, listen. If
When the
Booker,
Suns are at our best, nobody is above the mid-20s in points.
The Suns are at our best when everybody is clicking, passing the ball, and scoring. Look at last night. Booker had 23, Ayton had 25. Other than that, everybody else was in the mid-teens.
Yeah.
But that's when we're great.
yeah, but once again, we're playing against Mavericks, and I think just
Okay,
like
let's
we get
not
to the final,
act like the Mavericks aren't bad though. Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie have all been doing their things. Outside of Boston and Phoenix, the Mavericks have also been
but
a
I'm just
really
saying,
great team.
when you get to the finals, when you get to that stage, um, everything it gets tight. It gets tighter, and that's when I feel like the superstars need to come out and show that they're superstar. Like I think the Suns can beat any of those teams if Booker is the superstar. But if he comes out and he plays like he did last year in the finals, they don't win.
Yeah, but he's not gonna. But yeah, but also that's also saying you're also talking about first year in the playoffs, Devin Booker, compared to now All NBA first team Devin Booker,
Yeah.
who has had that experience. I think it would be silly for anybody to make a prediction right now that Booker's gonna fall off. Like as of right now, he's on the hottest. By stats, Devin Booker is literally the clutchest player in the last 4 minutes of any basketball game in the NBA.
I'm gonna tell you like this. He better when it comes to that point, he better show me more than what he showed me last year. That's all I got to say. I
I think
want
he
to
does.
I want to see him succeed because I like Booker. What you got? Well, go ahead, Zach.
All right.
Ready to move on?
Like I said, I already added my closing thing. I think the only team in the East that the Suns could beat are the Sixers. I don't think the Suns have a shot against any team. I'm sorry, I don't. I think the Suns. I think the Eastern Conference is superior at this point in time. I think the Eastern Conference is superior than the Western Conference, by a lot. I mean, look at the quality of teams. Look at how the teams are built. A lot of the Western Conference teams are built, one, maybe two guys, whereas a lot of the East teams are built 1 to 5, fully complete, and have good
But the
depth.
Suns,
I get it. The Suns are the
aren't 1 to
exception
5
to that
with.
in the West,
Okay,
but still,
I was
I
gonna
don't
say.
see the Suns. I don't see the Suns beating Miami. I don't see the Suns beating Milwaukee, and I certainly don't see the Suns beating the Celtics. I'm sorry, the Celtics would wipe the floor with this Phoenix Suns.
I
I wouldn't say
think
that.
that's ridiculous. I
wouldn't
think
say
that's so
that.
ridiculous.
I wouldn't say
Of
that.
course, you're gonna say that. You're a Suns fan.
But
And
I
of course
wouldn't
you're
say
gonna
that.
say that. You're a Celtics fan, but I
No,
think it's
I've
ridiculous.
also given non-bias though. I also said Marcus
Listen,
Smart Player of the Year.
I,
Before that, I also have the Celtics have been the best team in basketball since December, and until a team can beat them,
I'm
it's kind of hard to say the team's better than them.
I'm the
I'm
non-biased
not saying
out of here.
I'm not saying that they're better of them, but to say the Phoenix Suns, the 2021-2022 Phoenix Suns have no shot at beating a team in the playoffs is ridiculous.
Not in the East, but I'm just saying, too. You look at last year's finals. They played Milwaukee. That would have been a lot worse. Series would have been a lot shorter had they played any other team in the East other than Milwaukee. They still would have lost, but it would have been like 4 or 5 games.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I just don't think the Suns match up well against the Eastern Conference.
I'm giving them way more credit than them. The Suns have a good team. They have a good team, and they also have a player, like I said, that can just take over at any point. And
I think, but here's my point. Here's my issue with that, Zach. You say that the Eastern Conference teams are built to the point where they're built 5 men deep with good players off the bench, right?
Yeah.
That's your argument to the fact that West teams cannot keep up with them, right or wrong? Is that not what you said?
I'm saying that the East teams right now are far superior. Because it's been a long debate. Like back in the day, it used to be the West teams were superior. Now it's the East teams. The Eastern, I would say, as a whole, yes, the Eastern Conference is a much superior conference than the Western Conference. There's a handful of teams in the West, but in the East, from top to bottom, any of those teams can be a playoff team.
I did see.
Okay.
I disagree. I
I
disagree.
think
The West.
I don't disagree with that. I
The
don't
West
think every
is
team.
also though. How could you
The
say
West
that?
is not.
Say that.
I don't think the West is as deep as we like it to be anymore.
It's
How?
There
not.
was
Okay,
a
let's
point.
take.
It's
Okay,
not.
let's take the
Look,
I
bottom.
think-
Let's take the bottom.
Okay. Look at the Nuggets. They're built with Jokic. The Mavericks are
take
built
the
the same
bottom.
way. They're built around Luka. A lot of these West teams are built around one guy. One
So let
guy.
me ask you this question.
Whereas the East teams are
eighth-
more complete. They're built 1 to 5. Like
So
the
let me ask
Celtics
you a
roster,
question.
1 to 5 is a lot
Hawks-
better than the only team in the West. Like, and I will say that the Suns, yes, from 1 to 5, are probably one of the more complete teams in the West. I'd say the
So let me
Phoenix
ask
and
you this
Memphis
question.
Grizzlies are the
Hawks,
2 most complete
Hawks,
teams in the
Pelicans,
West.
if they play, we're gonna take the bottom teams. Hawks, Pelicans, if they play, who wins that matchup?
Hawks.
But-
I'm gonna say obviously this is after watching the Pelicans in the first round. Pelicans might be a little scary, bro.
That's what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
can't.
they're a scary
I
team.
say from top to bottom. For me, my
Okay.
opinion,
Okay.
the
Okay.
West
So
and the
then,
East
well,
is-
if we're going top to bottom, what about Hornets?
Who?
Hornets and Pels.
Oh.
You put Hornets and Pels in a series. Who wins?
It's a 7-game series, but I think it's a toss-up.
I mean, it's a
I
toss.
think that's Hornets. I
It's a
think Hornets
toss-up.
wins that series.
I think it's a toss-up though.
Here's my thing.
The
Back to
East
what-
and West is a lot closer than they used to be. The teams in the East and the West conferences, I think, is a lot closer than they used to be. I wouldn't say that the East have way better teams than the West does, because if you look at the West from top to bottom, I mean, you look, like I said, the Pelicans, and even if you look at some of those teams that was just on the verge versus some of the teams that was on the verge in the East, it's like a toss-up. So I think it's just closer for me. It's closer than it used to be in past years, where it was either it was just the West or it was just the East.
I want to touch on what I was saying a little bit, and I think we should try to move on to our next subject.
Okay.
I think, and this is just me saying this, Zach. I think you're right. I think that you're very correct in the fact that the Eastern teams seem to have a little bit more of a depth advantage over most of the Western Conference teams.
Yeah.
But I think if that is the thing, I think, like you said, the only team that's an exception to that is the Suns. But if you look at the Suns roster, and I know these stats have been shared, but we have 2 top 10 MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. DeAndre Ayton is coming into his own and has been absolutely impeccable through this playoff.
Let's do this. Hang on. Let's do this. Marcus Smart or
wanna go player-
CP3? Marcus Smart or CP3?
CP3.
CP3.
Okay. Jason Tatum, Devin Booker.
Toss up.
That's a toss-up. Yeah. Why?
Tatum. I'm going
Stop.
Tatum.
Okay,
Hold on.
I agree. I'm not
Hold
gonna
on.
disagree.
Hold
I'm
on,
not gonna
hold on.
disagree.
Personally, I would take Tatum personally because he came from Duke. But that's a toss-up because I like Booker just as much.
Jalen
I think
Brown.
Booker,
Jalen Brown, Jamison Crowder.
Brown.
Okay.
Brown,
Okay. Al Horford. Fucking. What is it?
DeAndre
Darko.
Ayton.
What? No,
Wait,
I put
what?
Time Lord and DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, okay. And McCall Bridges?
Yeah, Horford or McCall Bridges.
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 Okay. Time Lord or Ayton.
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 All right. Derek White campaign.
Campaign.
I'm going Derek White.
That's a toss-up. Yeah. I could say White too. Yeah. That's either or.
Okay, so another toss up.
But I'm just saying, you got to look at it roster from roster. Like player
I
for
think
player.
we have a better bench than Boston.
Yes.
Campaign, Torrey Craig, Cam
Yeah.
Johnson, who is a top 3 candidate and top 4 in
Yeah.
3-point percentage this year. I think JaVale McGee, who people just like to throw out JaVale McGee because he's old, but he's also playing dominant basketball as a backup center. And he's also helped DeAndre Ayton develop. I think the Celtics kind of fall apart if they have to go deeper into their bench. A little bit, not a lot.
Yeah.
Not enough for their starters to bring the game back. But I'm saying
Grant Williams was number 3 in 3-point percentage on the year.
that's phenomenal. But like I said, I don't know. I look at it and I'm like, dang, they got Daniel Tice. Like Daniel Tice doesn't really scare me in any scenario. JaVale McGee scares me.
I'd say that's a toss-up for me. I mean, McGee's definitely a champion. Like, I have a lot of respect for JaVale McGee because that man's just a straight champion. Like, it just straight up everything that he touches turns to gold, But like I said, I think it's evenly matched, but I don't know. I think just defensively, I think Boston's a lot better defensively, and I think the scheme play for the two teams, I think benefits Boston a lot more. Boston seems to be a lot more team oriented. I mean, I get that, yes, Phoenix can play team oriented basketball, but they do a lot of isolation and a lot more isolations than the Celtics do on the offensive side.
But to move on to the next subject, can we please go back now after having that conversation discussing the Suns roster, and can you please revoke the statement that they can't beat the Miami Heat? I don't care what you think about the Bucks, but come on. Gabe Vincent, Max Struss.
All right. Well, we're gonna keep. Listen,
Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, we're gonna keep. All right, we're gonna move along, but we're gonna keep with the playoffs.
To keep with this theme.
Yeah. The NHL.
Oh, you want to go to the NHL?
I thought we were going to. I thought we were NFL next.
No, we're just going to touch NHL. We're in their playoffs. Got to give these hockey guys some love. They're in the first round of their playoffs. Some of the matchups is the Hurricanes versus the Bruins. We got Rangers, Penguins. That game I was just watching not too long ago. Leafs, Lightnings, Panthers, Capitals, Flames, Stars, Oilers, Kings, Wild, and your Blues, and the Avalanche Predators. For me, the Florida Panthers were the surprise team.
Lightning versus Avs in the finals.
The Panthers were the surprise team, and you know how it is in hockey. Hockey's kind of like baseball, year after year. That puck might bounce differently, from year to year. So me personally, my team didn't make it. The Islanders, they were out, but I will have to go with Lightning and Avs also. Those are the two.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay still has Stamkos, right?
Yeah.
They still got Stamkos. They still have Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
They still got my boy.
And I'm just gonna pick a team that they're gonna play in the in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's the Colorado Avalanche. But yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning.
Tampa Bay, yeah. To win it all, I say Tampa Bay again. But you never know. You never know. All right, and also this weekend, we had an NFL draft. That's what we're going to.
Oh yeah.
We had an NFL draft.
There was a lot of surprise. There were a lot of surprise picks in this draft. It was a very interesting draft. Crazy draft, crazy trades that went on in the draft too. AJ Brown is now in Philadelphia. Titans replaced him with Treylon Burks.
Hollywood Brown is in Arizona now.
So I guess to start this segment, before we go into the individual picks, let me ask you, which team do you think, not what everyone's saying, which team do you think had the best NFL draft, had the best draft? Yeah.
I think the New York teams, I think any team that had a number of lottery picks, or I don't even know how the NFL draft. No,
top 10.
I think any team that had a top 10 pick. I mean, obviously New York obviously made it out with a killing, Kayvon Thibodeau. That's about the only person I know. But I think outside of that, I think the Packers had a really good draft. I think the Packers kind of turned a scary situation into something a little hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with you there. I think the Packers definitely came away from this draft filling some major needs. I mean, Christian Watson's a great wide receiver prospect. He's a raw prospect, but he's got a lot of talent, a lot of potential. And I think of all the rookie receivers, he's in. I hate to use the cliche adage, but he's got the best quarterback of all the rookie receivers. He has Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to have the volume. Christian Watson, they solidified their defense with drafting Wyatt and drafting Quay Walker. I mean, those are two future defensive studs. I think Quay Walker can be a stud for the Packers from day one.
Oh yeah.
I think Wyatt may take a little bit of time, may take a year or two to develop, but I also think Wyatt's going to be a stud too. No, I agree with you there. Yeah, I think the Packers definitely had a great draft. They definitely made the most of their draft and what they were able to do. So I think personally, I think the team that had the best draft overall, I mean, I think it's the Jets. Like with what the Jets came away with in that draft, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner, like those first 4 picks that they came away with, like those are 4 players that can turn that franchise around, you know?
Yeah.
So I definitely would say that the Jets had the best draft this year. Now, does that mean that will equate to wins on the field? Who knows? But right now, as the draft, yes, the Jets won the draft, but we shall see how that turns out, how that plays out. Jay, I mean, who would you say
Me?
had the best draft?
Like me, whenever I make my analysis, I watch these shows and all that, but I always go off of my personal thought anyway. You said the Jets, that would have been my choice. Um, but I think the Colts, if you've seen what they got and the holes that they filled and on their team, I think they had a surprisingly sneaky good draft
Yeah,
with the guys that they have. So I would have to say the Colts were up there as one of them, and definitely the Jets.
I would agree with that. I would agree. Another team that I think had a sneaky good draft too is the Washington Commanders.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think the Washington
yeah,
Commanders had a very sneaky good draft, and I don't
yeah.
think people realize quite how sneaky good that draft
After
could be
you,
for them.
exactly. After you had said them, I kind of paused, but I went and I looked, and I was like, he ain't lying. I said they got. I mean,
They got
they
Jahan
helped.
Dotson. They got
Yeah.
Jahan Dotson at 16, who,
Yep.
I mean, Jahan Dotson for me is a prospect that I like. I've been really high on Jahan Dotson, maybe higher than most, but I just think he's going to be a solid NFL player, solid NFL wide receiver too. Um, I think Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell's in a great situation for him. Like I said, Carson Wentz is the starter, yeah, but Carson Wentz
B-Rob.
can't. Yep,
They got
yep,
B-Rob.
B-Rob. Yeah,
Yep.
B-Rob. They added some defensive studs too.
Yeah.
Like they came away with this. They had a sneaky good draft too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think they had a lot better draft than people realize, especially if Howell turns into what Howell can be.
Yeah.
Then yeah, they'll have a really good draft.
Worst
But just
draft, real quick. What you guys think?
the team that had the worst draft.
I think the Steelers
Um,
did, but only because I want to know why they drafted Kenny Pickett. Other than that, I really
What was
don't know
that?
anything else. But I don't
What was that?
understand why. I don't know why the Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett.
What do you mean? I thought that was a good pick.
I don't.
You,
What's up with these teams? What is up with these teams trying to sign young quarterbacks already in the league?
And then
Mitch,
just drafting another one immediately after.
because
Dude,
Mitch is garbage.
because you take
Is
because
Mitch garbage? Is Mitch garbage, or did he play for a Chicago Bears team that literally gave him nothing? And then he went to Buffalo, where he was never going to start over Allen. Is Mitch Trubisky garbage, or did he just not have anything?
I mean
Because
we will see. But
I'm gonna
here's
say
to answer
this.
your
It was
question, E. Here's why teams do it. Because if you look at it this way, so Mitch Trubisky is 27 years old. Okay, most in the NFL, most of the time, 27-year-old players don't get any better. They've already reached their ceiling. They've reached the best they're going to be. Now, when you're at a draft and you see a kid like Kenny Pickett, who's 21 years old, who's just as good as the 27-year-old you have, knowing that he's 21 and that
maybe
he's going to
better.
get better, you go with the younger guy because even if they're the same, the younger guy's still going to get better and is going to have a higher ceiling. So that's why they do that. That's why, yes, on paper it looks weird, like, oh, Mitch is pretty good. Why would they do this? It's because, yes, Mitch is pretty good, but this is as Mitch has reached peak Mitch. he's not going to become higher than he is. Whereas, yes, with Pickett, at worst, you're going to get what Mitch is now, but at best, you're going to get a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen with Kenny Pickett. That's why teams do that.
Yeah.
I just look at it and I'm like, yes, I agree with you that yes, if once you hit your late 20s, you see just about as good as you're going to be. But I think players like Mitch Trubisky who had to play like in a franchise like Chicago, I think
Like, here, let me put it this way. Look at Justin Fields in Chicago now. He had a pretty mediocre rookie season compared to what I thought he was going to be.
Mhm.
And it's due to the fact that Chicago is just kind of at the point now where they just kind of don't care. Chicago themselves, like the owners of Chicago, said that they really aren't going to try to make a move to make the team better right now. And I just think that that's the same situation Mitch was in. So I'm saying before, I get it. Draft Kenny Pickett. At worst, you get Trubisky. But what I'm saying is, though, is if you're on week 1, if Mitch Trubisky isn't your starter, then you're throwing money away.
They got Mitch on a 1-year deal though. Mitch is cheap, so it's
Yeah,
not like
but-
it's not like they signed Mitch to like a 5-year, $200 million contract. They can be like, Mitch is on a 1-year prove it deal in the NFL. Like, it's basically like, yeah, prove it. And I think, yeah, I mean, look, I'm a Mitch defender in the fact that because Mitch Trubisky before the NFL, part of the NFL, the man only had 3 years of competitive football experience under his belt prior to the NFL.
Yeah.
He had 1 year in high school, 2 years in college, and one of those years in college he was the starter. He wasn't the starter his first year in college, but I mean, so naturally, Mitchell Trubisky is a naturally talented quarterback, and he's raw. But I think, yeah, and I think I mean, I agree with the NFL, and it's the same adage, especially that I use and that I at least use when I play fantasy sports, is I always go for the guy with the more upside.
Yeah.
Like if I have 2 players, so if I'm looking at 2 players and they're at the same talent level, but one can give me slightly more upside, I'm going to take the guy with more upside because I'll get more of those boom weeks. Yes, I'll still get the same safe floor, but I'm going to get more of those boom weeks from that guy than I will from Mitch, Even if Pickett only gives you 3 boom weeks out of the year and Mitch gives you none, that's still 3 games that he boomed that Mitch didn't, So it's just, I get it. And Pickett, I mean, Kenny Pickett, it's a Pittsburgh kid.
Was he even the best quarterback in the draft?
Not to me.
I thought Malik Willis was. All I ever heard anybody was talking about Malik Willis, and
Corral.
he went like. You think who is?
Matt Corral.
I'm gonna say Sam Howell is the best most pro ready, best prospect, best quarterback in the draft, like right now, as of today. But who can grow into it? I mean, Kenny Pickett definitely can. All the quarterbacks that went this year, they all kind of had one thing that they excelled at.
Yeah.
Like Kenny Pickett was accuracy. Dennis Ritter is processing. Carson Strong was probably the best all around of the quarterbacks. Malik Willis, big arm. For me, the big thing with Malik Willis that I see, he plays slow. His game, everything about his game is slow. Like his throwing motion, his processing, he plays slow. Like to me, Malik Willis he's a great prospect, but he's very raw. He's a very raw prospect. I think of all the quarterbacks coming out this year, I think the most polished of them is Sam Howell. I think he's the most pro ready. He's run a pro ready offense. I think he can be the one that you see the most early success with. But down the line, yeah, I think Pickett can be probably the best of this class. Like down the line, Pickett's in a great situation, great organization. And yeah, they missed. And look, the Steelers missed on drafting Dan Marino. They're not going to miss again on drafting another Pittsburgh quarterback.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I don't know. I say the Patriots had the worst draft. I don't think they had a good draft at all. I'm not sure what Belichick was doing. I'm not sure what their thought process was or whatever, but for all the guys that they had that they could have chose, and for them to choose who was it?
Cole Strange at
Cole
29.
Strange. It was just. I mean, they needed so much more. They could have filled so many more holes. Like they
Oh,
secondary, man. They could have got Lewis Seen from Georgia to fill up that back end hard hitting safety.
they
I
could have gotten
mean,
Kylie or Elam if they didn't
yeah,
trade 21. Hell, they could have taken they could have taken who the Chiefs took at 21 with Trent
yeah,
McDuffie.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
So
they
I
could have
don't.
taken Trent McDuffie at who's getting player comps
Yeah,
to
and then
Jair
and then
Alexander.
the wide receiver Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton. I
They were
mean,
way better. They passed up on Alec Pierce, Sky Moore, all
George
the
Pickens,
yeah.
Christian
It's like, what were
Watson.
they doing? But that
Yeah,
to me, that was.
there were
But
a
let me
lot of
go back.
questionable moves
Yeah,
that the Patriots did. I can understand the Tyquan Thornton pick. Like Tyquan Thornton and Pierre Strong we got the fastest wide receiver and the fastest running back in the draft. Yes, the Patriots did.
mhm,
And I like Pierre Strong as a prospect a lot more than I do Tyquan Thornton. I think Pierre Strong, had he gone to a Power 5 school, would have been a top 15, 10 to 15 player in the country this year. Had he played for, say, Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, he would have been a top
yeah,
10
yeah,
15 player in the country.
yeah.
For sure, Pierre Strong. So I actually think the Pierre Strong pick was a steal for the Patriots. But the Tyquan Thornton, to me, it just kind of felt like they needed a wide receiver, and they just took like they took the fastest guy. Like, I mean, I don't know, especially at that point. Like, if I had the pick, even when they traded with the Chiefs, when they traded 21 to Kansas City, I'm like, okay, 29. I was like, there's still talent. I get it. They may not want, one of these guys that people want, but there's still talent available at 29. And
Yeah,
then for them to reach and take Cole Strange. And I
yeah,
understand, yes, after trading Shaq Mason, it left the Patriots with a serious hole in their offensive line. And Cole Strange is an aggressive offensive lineman
but
who
it
can
was
play
still.
multiple positions on the offensive line. I understand he fits the Patriots mold, Belichick, but he's a third round talent. He's a
Yeah,
third round pick. He had a great Senior Bowl. I think that, yes, I agree. I think that pick was a
yeah,
reach with Cole Strange, especially for who was available there. Like you said, Lewis Seen was available there. Kyler Elam was available there. Christian Watson,
Alec
uh,
Pierce.
Alex
A
Pierce, yeah,
bunch.
Christian Watson, Alex Pierce, George Pickens, Sky Moore. There was a lot of talent available at that spot that you could
Yeah,
have.
a
Trent
lot.
McDuffie, Trent
Yeah,
McDuffie, Roger McCreary. Just a lot more. There was a lot. I felt that they could have used that pick to make a more impactful pick in the
yeah,
first round than
yeah.
Cole Strange. Especially with the holes that they have.
A lot.
I mean, Belichick historically has never really been the best drafter historically.
Yeah.
I mean, this is known. Um, and to me, I've said it as a Patriots fan, as a lifelong Patriots fan, as watching them. I think periods of time, there was a period of time in between the Super Bowl runs where the Patriots won the 3 and 4 years,
Yeah.
and then they won the 4 and 6 years, and the back half of Brady's career, and the last end of the Brady's career, they won the other three. So, but in that middle time period, to me, especially being a Patriots fan, if you watch a lot of Patriots football during that time,
Hmm.
there's a lot of stubbornness from Bill Belichick in those teams and that team composition. Like our defense during that time lacked. He kept the same defensive players, same defensive scheme, just let them get older and didn't evolve to how the end changes in the NFL were changing. So I think there's for periods of time Belichick gets stuck in his ways where he's like, no, my way works, and he gets stuck in the way, and it causes him to not adapt and evolve with how the NFL game adapts and evolves. And then I think obviously when he caught up to that was when he won the 3 Super Bowls later in Brady's career.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like And it's very clear because you can see a lot of like the defense that they field during that time isn't what a Patriots defense normally looks like.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of entering one of those periods again with Bill Belichick where he's so set in, this is what I want to do. This is the formula that I use. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to follow it. And he can't adapt and understand the changes in the game that are coming. You know, players
Yeah.
are getting more athletic now.
Yes.
Players are becoming more versatile. You know, wide receivers, we see it more and more. I said this to someone a couple of years ago. I think what we see with Deebo Samuel is going to become the norm for the wide receiver position in 3 to 4 years. I think you're going to need those wide receivers that are able to run out of the backfield, are able to run the ball as opposed to just catching the ball. And I think, I don't know, to me, this draft solidifies that point that Bill is just stubborn and
Yeah.
set in his ways. And, you know, at times it hurts the team more than it helps it. And I also don't think, I think Bill was able to draft those that poorly a lot because he had Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And he had Tom Brady to cover the holes.
Yeah.
You know, I love Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is going to be great. Mac Jones isn't nearly at peak Mac Jones level, and Mac Jones isn't at Tom Brady level yet, you know? So I don't think Mac Jones is able to cover those holes at this point in time. So, yeah, I mean, the Patriots definitely had a very, very head-scratching draft, as I put it. I mean, Bailey Zapp, I like Bailey Zapp a lot. He's a kid that I wish got drafted to a better spot.
I like Bailey.
I wish he got drafted to a team that he could actually get a shot at playing because I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he has a lot of potential. It sucks he's going to be playing behind Mac Jones because Mac Jones is clearly the guy in New England, you know?
Hey, man, if Mac Jones better watch out because if he get hurt and it might be a Bledsoe Brady situation.
I mean, yeah, you never know. But, yeah, I mean, I like Bailey Zappi a lot.
Zappy, yeah, I do like him. I do like Zappy.
And then just to talk about some of the draft picks, like Trayvon Walker going first overall, that kind of came as a surprise to me, like a surprise pick. I mean, I knew Jacksonville was probably going to go defense and was probably going to look edge rusher, but of the edge rushers available, like I would put Aiden Hutchinson over Kayvon. Over Trayvon Walker. I'd put Kayvon Thibodeau over Trayvon Walker. You know, I'd put David Ojabo
I think
over
I would put
Trayvon
George
Walker.
Karlaftis over him too.
Karleft, yeah. I mean, there's a lot like
because he actually had more production.
I just think
Aiden Hutchinson like the guy in this draft. I'm just confused because like I obviously football isn't my strong suit, and I really just only watch the games. I don't really dig deep into anything, but it's hard but typically around these times, there's always certain players that I hear about the most as just a very, what word am I looking for here? As a very casual football fan. And Aiden Hutchinson, man, I was hearing about this guy all of his senior season, all in the off season.
Well, he went 2 overall.
Yeah, I know, but Aiden Hutchinson was like the guy.
See, what happens is the combine kind of changes a lot of things for certain players too. Like the
combine is such bullshit.
It is. I like a lot of those guys. It's what they do on that field. Emmitt Smith Emmitt Smith ran what, a 4.6, and is one of the greatest running backs of all time. You know what I mean? So those measurables and stuff, like I get it, I understand, but a lot of times, you know, you don't even have to look at that type of stuff. It's like, what did they do on that field? And Aiden, you know, he rushed the passer on that field.
I mean, I think Aiden Hutchinson ended up in a better situation by going 2 overall.
And also, too, this draft, it seemed like a lot of teams were going with the guy that was either the hometown guy or a guy that was from that area, because that's what they said the Texans did. The Texans went with Stingley because he was, you know, from over in that area, LSU, Louisiana, Texas. So that's why they went with that pick. Like, I was hearing that a lot through this draft, that a lot of teams were going after, you know, like the guys that stay closer to home. So it was kind of weird too in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, born and raised in Michigan, lifelong
Exactly.
Lions fan, ends up on the Lions,
Yeah.
And I actually think that's a great move. I think the Lions are another team that had another excellent draft
Yeah.
with what they came away with, especially in that first round with Jamison Williams and Aiden Hutchinson.
That was a great pick.
I think both those picks were smash picks for the Lions.
Great pick.
I think the Lions, as soon as this season, can start making some noise in the NFL.
They need a quarterback.
Goff isn't great.
He's a bridge quarterback.
Goff is average. You can win with Goff. Yes, they need a quarterback, but Goff is for a bridge quarterback. I would choose Jared Goff over a lot of other guys for a bridge quarterback.
Trubisky. Yeah.
Over Trubisky, over Wentz, over Baker. Like I would choose Goff over a lot of other guys. Goff isn't great, but he's not bad either.
Yeah.
You can win with Goff. You can be successful and you can win with Goff.
Yep.
So I mean, I noticed that too. A lot of teams went with the local guy, the guy that was from the area, all that grew up there, grew up as a lifelong fan, all that of the team, so
Kenny Pickett, all he has to do is switch locker rooms.
Oh yeah. He just has to. Yeah, exactly. He just has to switch locker rooms because he played his home games at Heinz Field.
Yeah.
I mean, like
it was a
Desmond Ridder. So it was funny because going into the draft, I kind of had a feeling that Desmond Ridder was going to end up being a Falcon.
Yeah.
At some point in the draft, I'm like, the Falcons are going to draft Desmond Ridder.
He's another one that had the opportunity to be able to get some time this year.
Yeah, he can definitely. I mean, I think Mariota's going to come out and be a lot better than people expect, especially with the size. The Falcons. So an interesting thing what the Falcons did in this draft is, for those that don't know, Drake London is a 6'6" prospect.
Yes.
And they have now Kyle Pitts, who they got last year, who's also 6'6".
They got some big boys, yeah.
That's gonna be a nightmare for defenses to cover. Having two 6'6" receivers is gonna be a night. I don't think people understand that aspect though, like what the Falcons did there. That's huge. So that's going to be a huge size advantage, especially because your average size corner is 5'11" to 6'2",
Yeah.
Like you don't really get a lot of corners bigger than 6'2". And someone who's 6'6", someone who's 6'2" can match up with someone who's 6'4".
I know.
But someone who's 6'2", it's not the same as matching up against someone who's 6'6", Like try putting that's like having Chris Paul cover DeJounte Murray,
There's no ice.
like in a jump ball situation, like long pass down the court. Who you're gonna think if it's Chris Paul and DeJounte Murray going up for that ball, who's gonna get that ball? DeJounte's gonna get that ball 9 out of 10 times,
Of course.
That's what to put it in a basketball perspective for that's what that's gonna be like, But
and the Hail Marys for them is gonna be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely going to be an interesting NFL season this year with the draft. I think Kyle Hamilton to Baltimore. I think that was another smash pick too.
Yes.
I think that was he's the perfect fit for what they do defensively, how they play defense. He's the perfect pick for him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to find a lot of success. Baltimore had a great draft as well, bringing in Ojabo too.
In that one round, didn't they have about 6-7 picks just in one round?
Yeah, in the fourth, they had a lot, but I mean they killed their early. I'm just thinking though, more so their early picks. Like they killed the early picks. Ojabo. I mean, some people had David Ojabo as the best pass rusher in this draft. He just has the Achilles injury, but I think Ojabo is going to be solid. So like I said, I really like. I don't know. But for me, like the one quarterback I think is going to hit and I think is going to make an impact a lot sooner than people realize is Sam Howell. I really do. I think I think Washington's a great opportunity for him. Wentz gets hurt.
Yeah.
Wentz, I know Washington is like, oh, Wentz is our guy. Wentz is our quarterback. But you don't draft a prospect. If that was the case, they would have drafted Bailey Zappi instead of Sam Howell. You don't draft a quarterback with the prospect level of Sam Howell to make Carson Wentz your your starting quarterback for the future, you know?
Agree.
And that's not to knock Wentz because I'm a Wentz defender. I think Wentz is another guy like Goff. I don't think he's great, but I also don't think he's bad. Like, and I mean, I know the numbers with Wentz are a lot better than he appears on
I
film.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, he has a killer touchdown interception ratio. He only has one season where he's thrown more than 8 interceptions in his entire career. But even with that said, I still don't think Wentz will be better than Howell in the long run. But yeah, I think Howell has a good opportunity to play right now too with the Tannehill situation that's ongoing. We might see Malik Willis a lot sooner than we expected.
Yep.
I think that's going to be the worst possible thing for Malik Willis. If that happens,
Me
I
too.
think Malik Willis is a great prospect, but I think he's a prospect that the Titans need to be patient with, and they're going to have to wait a year, maybe 2 years before he's ready to be the guy. I think he's got a lot to work out. He's raw. He definitely has the most upside of all the quarterbacks that were drafted this year. Malik Willis has the most upside, but can he reach it? Can he reach that is the big question.
Yeah.
Like I said, he plays slow. Overall, his entire game, just everything plays slow. Matt Corral's another one, though, that I like, too. Who could be a sleeper. Matt Corral has
That's my guy.
Matt Corral is the most technically sound quarterback of the quarterbacks in this draft. He's got such a quick release. He's got quick processing, quick release, all that. So, yeah, a lot of interesting picks. So I think, but yeah, I mean, pretty good. I think to just wrap things up, let's do something a little different. Let's go with a sports story, current event story, anything that you've heard of in the past week or two that that you think was something that was good that happened, whether it was something someone did and you just want to shine light or give it a shout out, you know? So I think that's how we should wrap it up.
Okay.
Something you're excited to see. It could be anything. It could be like the David Ojabo to the Ravens, or it could be like, this guy at the grocery store, paid it forward for someone. I saw that. I want to shout him out. So it can be anything.
Okay.
So I think we should do something like that to wrap it up.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna shine light on a team that this is why you're not gonna see me call the Suns in 4 because I saw what happened with the Pelicans, so I'm gonna give them probably the shout out. I think going into that series I was kind of more on the edge of it's the Pelicans. God only knows what we might do to the Pelicans, and Booker got hurt, and the Pelicans showed us, hey, put Zion on the court, we're top 5 team in the West.
Yeah.
And I think McCollum's showing his own. I think Brandon Ingram really made a big step into a career that we already thought was going to be promising. I don't know how much I'm behind it, but I'll give him the shout out. Good job for Jose Alvarado, I guess. I don't know. I think I don't know if that's really going to be a consistent thing past this season. But I think the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans definitely surprised a lot of people.
Hang on to Jose Alvarado. The play that he made in that series, he did that all the time in college, which is what people don't realize. That wasn't just a fluke. That wasn't normal.
No, I'm not saying it's a fluke.
He did that all the time in college, and it worked every time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a fluke necessarily, but what I am saying is that, I don't know. I feel like there's always this
you're giving credit where credit's due, and definitely the Pels are definitely a feel good story. Definitely had a great year. Definitely got a lot of promise. And if Zion was healthy, if they had a healthy Zion, that might have been a different series.
With Booker being out, if they had Zion, I think they would have won.
That might have been a very different series if they had a healthy Zion. What about you, Jay?
Yeah. I would say that.
Oh, Dylan Brooks from the Grizzlies just got ejected 3 minutes into the game.
Oh wow.
Nice. What about for you, Jay?
Me? I'm gonna go with me. I've been surprised. Well, I like to see how Rizzo has kind of resurrected his career a little bit. over there in the Bronx with the Yankees. I mean, he's a lefty, so that side of that fence in Yankee Stadium, I think they said is like the shortest in baseball. So, but I
Yeah.
like seeing, guys kind of resurrect their careers, and he's been doing good. So, I would say for me that's it.
That's you. All right.
That's it.
I guess one thing that I'm excited for, that over the past week, I think I got to say that just as a whole, I'm not going to talk about I'm going to talk about the NFL draft here, but I think I'm not going to talk about the players or the selections. I'm going to talk about the production of the draft and how it was done in Vegas. This year's draft was done a lot better than previous years, and I really hope that the NFL continues to use what they did this year as the way going forward, because it kept the fan more involved, all that, and that's what the draft is about. It's about the fan experience, because they could have this draft behind the scenes and not announce a draft pick, and the fans could never know until it was completed who went where. And they put on this. The NFL puts the spectacle on for us, records this whole draft process, has this whole draft party, picks the city. I think this year, though, just as a whole, the whole complete thing, like everything about it, I think they nailed it. They got it right. I hope that they continue doing it how they did it this way for us fans. It keeps us involved, and it was a great NFL draft.
Could you imagine if the NFL and NBA draft was that way though, where it happened and then like the next day we figured out where each player went? That'd be wild.
That would suck.
That would be so wild.
If it wasn't broadcasted at all.
If it wasn't broadcasted, just the next day they release the players, dude. So many people would be like, "What?" Like that would be wild. Like the next, but the also thing though is like they don't tell you the trades. Like you wake up the next morning and Jason Tatum got traded to the Detroit Pistons because they won.
Yeah, like you wake up this year as an Eagles fan and be like, "Oh, who did we draft?" Then you'd be like, "Wait, we got AJ Brown." Or like the Titans, the Titans, like, who'd we get? Who'd we add with AJ Brown? And then they wake up and they're like, "Wait, AJ Brown's gone."
Yeah, to me, that was the Titans' fault though, because why would you pay all that money to fucking Tannehill? You know what I mean? That was their fault.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, and they didn't want to pay AJ Brown.
He's 24. How could you let a 24-year-old stud receiver that's just hitting his prime go? I don't get that. That was crazy.
I mean, they did replace him with Treylon, who's pretty identical skill set wise.
But AJ's already proven though.
No, absolutely. AJ's a top receiver in the NFL. I mean, I don't know. I think this is gonna turn out being like the DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson trade. Not that Treylon is as bad as David Johnson, but if Treylon Burks is a bust, man, Tennessee fans are gonna be calling for that GM's head. However, if Treylon Burks booms, then they're gonna be like, AJ who? So it works either way. But yeah, I mean, I guess Tennessee better hope that they're right with Treylon Burks and that Treylon Burks doesn't become a bust or doesn't. I think Treylon Burks now has a lot more expectations on him than he did going into the draft to perform. And I think he could disappoint a lot of people, even still having a good rookie season. I think a lot of people are going to expect him to come out now and be AJ Brown from the jump and not realize that it may take him a year or two to develop.
But that's human nature. That's human nature for anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, closing thoughts back to I just thought this just popped into my head and it made me laugh, so I have to share it. Forget doing it with the draft, all right? And I'm just going to use the NBA as an example. Imagine if the entire offseason, free agency starts, you don't know who your team signed until game one of the NBA in the season. Imagine you're a Magic fan, right? you go to the game and they're like, and your new starting small forward, LeBron James, and everybody just starts freaking like flip shit. But you had no idea all off season.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be wild.
that
Like,
would
but
be
at the same
wild.
time, it's like if your team decides that they're gonna pack it in and rebuild and start tanking and rebuilding, and you had a team that had LeBron, Westbrook, Durant, and then you come back and you're like, wait, why do I have Gorgon Dragic, Duncan Robinson, and and Dejan Ajap? What happened to the team?
Hey, Duncan Robinson got paid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It just made me laugh. Like, just
It would
imagine
definitely
if that's how
make
it
an
was.
interesting aspect to sports for sure.
Like, like I get all excited, like Booker's getting ready to get back. I figure out Booker plays in Charlotte now or some shit like that.
But yeah, on that note, everyone, from us at the Dynasty Show to you and yours, have a good week.
Zach.
Stay tuned for more. As always, stay tuned for more.
Jay, the Dynasty Show. That's how we roll, y'all.
We're on all major social media platforms. Check us out. Like and subscribe to.
Comment. Let us know what you guys want to hear. What topics. Yes. All right. Later.
Rock, on the track, boy.